Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I am Pamela Marie Edmunds, and this is Love Never Dies radio show. And I am broadcasting to you from the Red Rocks of Sedona, Arizona. And tonight I've got a wonderful guest for you, and we're going to have a great show. We've got people coming in, going to be people coming in, popping in all along. So just know that I won't be able to acknowledge everyone because I do know a number of the faces that are coming in, plus you're identified by name. This is being recorded, yet when the recording is going to go on YouTube, but when you're put up on YouTube, your name does not show. That's what I've experienced. It's an opportunity for us to share the wisdom that Stephen has, but also the wisdom that I've gathered as being a medium myself. I am a medium. Matter of fact, Steve and I met back in Massachusetts. We both go back to the roots in Massachusetts. And he was a teacher at the time. I was a student for a while. And I need to chuckle because I know he's a little younger than me, but he started on this path early. And I can remember sitting in the pews. They weren't pews. They were chairs, folded chairs at the First Spiritualist Church of Onset in Onset, Massachusetts. And at that time, I believe Reverend,
Kenneth Custance.
Thank you. Kenneth Custance was still alive. God bless him. He did live into his 90s. And he had the little house across the street was his. And then he had a house next to the church that was the parish, they called it. And that's where all the visitors used to stay. But I can remember sitting in chairs and listening to Stephen doing lectures. I preferred to call it like a sharing or but basically it's something of a spiritual nature that anybody in the room would relate to. It's about mediumship. It's about different experiences that go on in our lives, but something that people could relate to. And then him doing mediumship. And then it took a few years before I was sitting in class. I think I might have sat in 1 or 2 year classes. I didn't do a lot.
I think you went to a couple of my workshops.
Okay.
Plus, I remember you working at the Wigwam too.
Okay.
I remember one time I was serving there and you showed up too and did some messages.
Right. One of the blessings.
That was a few years later.
One of the blessings of Onset. Onset was a spiritualist camp for mediums many, many years ago. And it's from that beginnings, it has 2 churches in the area. And one's year round and one's part-time. So I am a medium myself. Host of 2 radio shows. This show here runs on Wednesday nights, Love Never Dies. And you can always find the information about who's going to be on and how to connect by Zoom. That seems to be the hardest problem sometimes. But that information is on my website, PamelaMarieEdmunds.com. Okay. Also, any classes or whatever that I'll be teaching are there too. And I'll give you a chance to share your classes too, Steve, once we get going here, okay? But I'm starting, tomorrow night is my second radio show that I do. And it's called All Animals Deserve Love. And the purpose that started for me is the fact that my dear beloved dog, Earth Angel, has been communicating with me now for about 4 years since he's been gone. And I have a wonderful cat here now who communicates. He speaks to me telepathically. So the animals are important. And so keep a watch as to what will be going on this week's All Animals Deserve Love. This week is going to be gifts animals bring us. And basically it's going to be discussion for everybody who comes in and just share some of the wonderful times that the animals came to you and were there for you. They all have a purpose, as we understand. And next week, let's see, one more minute here. Okay, Love Never Dies. I will be doing a show I will be leading it. I will be the guest as your host. I know you're here. This is another discussion for you to share. How do you know your loved ones are around you? Does mom give you a sign? Does your brother or sister have a way of letting you know? There are so many ways Spirit can show us they're here with us. So, anyway, I want to let Stephen come in a little bit here more. How many of us have his book? If you don't have it, that's okay. For those of you who have not seen it, Medium Mastery.
Mediumship Mastery.
Mediumship. Go ahead,
The
Stephen.
ultimate guide.
The ultimate guide, the mechanics of receiving spirit communications. And you're Stephen Hermann, and you're talking to us from where, Steve?
I'm in New Zealand right now.
Right.
And it's virus free.
Wonderful.
So I can walk around without a mask, and I can go close to people.
Oh, what a gift.
I can do hands-on healing on people.
And you can shake someone's hand when you meet them?
I can without wearing gloves.
Okay. How about hugs? Do you do hugs?
Oh, of course. The more hugs, the better.
Hugs are something that I've really missed. You know?
Yeah, I know. But anyway, New Zealand's totally cool because they have it all controlled. So I've been here the last 5 weeks.
Right.
Whatever it's been. So.
Right. And your roots right now are California, right?
I'm based in California. I'm based in San Jose, California.
But you still have a lot to do with Massachusetts, don't you?
I'm all over the place, but I grew up in Massachusetts. So because I grew up there, I do hold a lot of training there. I do a lot of stuff in the New England area, but I go all over the place, literally.
Right.
Internationally.
Right. And you are a reverend, an NST, I believe, correct?
Yeah, I'm affiliated with the National Spiritualist Association of Churches, which is the oldest and largest, most conservative spiritualist association in the U.S. Been around since 1893.
1893, wow.
Yeah, well, the Onset Church was part of that at one point.
It was, yes.
They ended up leaving the NSAC, I guess, in 1987.
Yeah, there have been a few churches along the way who want to do things on their own.
Yeah, that's normal. It's just like,
well, you find
in Christianity, it all branches out into different. Spiritualism is the same way.
Right,
worldwide, there's all these different organizations, and sometimes things are done a little bit differently depending where you are geographically.
And how did you come to be a part of spiritualism? And I don't even think I've asked you that.
Oh, well, I've always been really sensitive and really open to the spirit world. So I was really open when I was little, and I learned how to meditate when I was little. And actually, the first time I ever saw a medium, I was watching this, I guess I was 5 years old. And anyway, there was this documentary on different types of churches. So I remember this. So one of the things that I remember on this one show is they had this church in San Francisco, and 2 men were getting married. So that really stood out. I was like, well, what is that?
That's a long time ago.
Oh, this is going way back. Okay, we're talking about a long time ago because I'm 85. The formaldehyde, preserves me a bit. So this is going back a bit. And so then they said, well, we're going to take you to the spiritualist church in England. Where they mediums, communicate with the dead. So I instantly was drawn to it, and it was just this old guy, and he's talking to all these people sitting in this church.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit of a disappointment. I'm not sure what I expected because I didn't know anything about it, but I was just drawn to it. And it's interesting because years later, I always wondered, wow, I wonder if I can ever find that clip, because this was it. And so I think just in the last year, I was looking on YouTube, and there's this one very prominent medium. He was the president for many years of the Spiritualist National Union, and his name was Gordon Higginson. He used to do a lot of work at the Arthur Findlay College in Stansted. He ran that, and very well known. But actually, I found that clip from some British TV show. So they must have used it as part of that. And, based on what I remember, I'm pretty sure it's the same thing. It would have been from 1968 or something like this when it was done. In England at least. So it's pretty neat. So anyway, once you get into spiritualism, you can't get out of it. It's such a good thing.
Well, because it rings so true to us.
Yeah, and it is true. And the spirit world, where is the spirit world? It's literally all around us. So
Yes.
mediumship is wonderful. You know, spiritualism as a religion or as a philosophy, it really encourages people to cultivate and to develop the gifts of the spirit, to open up. And mediumship is totally a natural ability. So everyone has it. It's not something, it's just like art or music. You know, it's not like a medium's on some type of pedestal above everyone else with these special powers and everything. And I like what you're doing, Pamela, too, like your new show with the animal communication, because I've got my book Mediumship Mastery, which you just talked about, but I have
Right.
Mediumship Mastery 2. One of the chapters is going to be, bringing, channeling animals and aliens, this type of thing. Non-souls who are not non-human,
It's
which
real. It's real for many of us.
yes, but when you get into this, you open up to the spirit world, and all sorts of personalities will be able to come through. Of course, the more training someone has, the better. That's what's really, really, really important.
Right.
Is the training and working on yourself spiritually, because
That's
like
huge.
attracts like.
And you don't realize it when you step into this world that you're going to be working on yourself, do you? At least I didn't.
Well, a
Okay.
lot of people, they just, they don't know any better, so they come here, and it can be almost a waste of time for a lot of people, because they go through different things, and maybe there's different opportunities for growth, and sometimes very insignificant amount of progress really is made. And then they go into the spirit world and they look back and like, gosh, I did that wrong, I goofed up here.
Yeah.
And what happens? And you come back and do it all over again. So
Well,
it's there's opportunities here, but it's really important to put energy into our growth.
well, and I want to say for me though, I feel like I was drawn to the spiritualist churches for healing, which has been tremendous for me over the years. And I feel like our soul is telling us this is the way to go here. This is the route you need to follow to advance yourself, to get, I want to say, closest to the light.
Yeah, well, if someone's supposed to be a medium, it's going to give them an opportunity within that framework to express their spiritual gifts. I'm not really so much into organized religion or churches. I was kind of turned off by that, but then within the context, it's really good, because you can develop the mediumship, and you can work with people and help people,
Right.
which you might not be able to quite the same way. The other thing is, obviously mediumship, everyone's a medium to some extent, but in terms of quality training, you certainly have, within spiritual, there's an understanding of how it actually works, the mechanics and
Exactly.
approaches to work on it. And that can be of a low standard too. Obviously, there's people who don't know what they're doing within it, but generally speaking, it's on a higher type of level. The standards educationally are really good for someone who wants to develop mediumship, which you're not going to get outside of that, unless you're with someone who's from that background, and they might be doing it independently, but then they've still got that standard of how they're doing things, which is
Well,
really, really important.
and you're touching upon a very important subject here, teachers. When we're,
Well,
about the teachers that we're attracted to or we're not attracted to, and us needing to, from my experience, it was not to stick with one teacher, but to learn a little bit from several different teachers.
yeah, obviously, in one sense, you can learn something from everyone. You could go to like a really horrible teacher, the worst possible teacher in the world, and you're going to learn something, maybe what not to do. So it's
Exactly.
comparison, contrast, But the other thing is, I teach. That's what I'm really into, is the teaching and healing
Yes.
aspect. But there's things I can teach people within. I can only take a person as far as I've gone, and there may be someone who's just on a totally different wavelength than me. And they go to you, Pamela, and it's like, wow, it's a perfect fit. It's not about superior or inferior. It just has to do with
Mhm.
it's so much of it's really a personal type of thing. But you can learn different things from different people. And there are some mediums, depending where you go. In fact, I can even think of at least one medium, and she controlled her church with an iron fist. And anybody who was her student, don't you dare go to anybody else's classes. Don't even go to their church services, because if you do, so now all of you, who are watching this, what do you think of that? Can you imagine if you went to my class and said, you can't go to anyone else's classes?
Sounds to me like the person teaching wants to be in control and
that's exactly what it is. Now the rationale or the excuse for something like that is, well, you're teaching this quality way, and I'm teaching them the right way to do it, Pam. If they go to your class, they're going to be contaminated. But the thing with this is that there's sometimes that's true. I mean, you could be teaching someone, they go off and they learn something, but that's part of the learning too. It's a good thing. Different people have different things to. And I remember years ago in Massachusetts, I used to be involved in running a church there. And we had 3 different mediums teaching 3 different classes, 3 different nights of the week. And many of the students, they went to all 3. In fact, actually, at the time, I probably had 4 or 5 classes a week. So some of the students would go to a couple of my classes in addition to other people's, which I'd always encourage, because the more you do it, the better. It's just going to, it really, you get exposed to different ways, and how does it work for you? It's not like a robotic. You have to work. Everyone has to work like you, Pamela Marie. We have to work exactly like you. You have to be a clone of Steve Hermann and use all your phraseology the exact same way. That's not how it works. It's so individual, and your helpers in the spirit world will work with you. You see,
right? But they'll lead you to exactly who you need to be with.
Yeah, and it's not like a cookie cutter thing. So it's interesting because you have a lot of people, they go study with certain people, and they all work exactly the same. Like, you even go to different geographical regions, a lot of the people, I guess presentation wise, work the same, maybe even the same type of information. I mean, for example, you have many people they study with, they go to Arthur Findlay, for example, which is, very nice training and everything, but certainly certain ways in which people are taught to present mediumship, what should be coming through, all of this stuff, and they all work the same. Now, it might be very good, there's no judgment there, but what's really important is we all have unique gifts. We're all individuals. We want to really connect with the spirit world, because they'll utilize this in a way which may be very, 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 very different from someone else. Even with presentation styles or the type of information. I mean, for example, evidential communications, which is really good, but there's guidance. What does the person actually need within the context of the situation? For their growth, for their healing, this type of thing. We don't set the agenda; the spirit world does. So we don't want to be rigid or narrow with it. So.
Exactly, and that's what I have to keep remembering here while I'm listening to you and I speak and talk to. Is I stopped and made sure I put a prayer out before the show was to start. I called all the higher guides, etc., and asked for the best and highest good of the show, and that we'd be guided. So it's almost like helps get me out of wanting to try to control the show too, Steve.
Well, it is your show.
Well, it is my show.
But it's great you're doing the show, because it's education, right? And I mean, all these people here now, I'm looking at the people who are participating. And I know a lot of these people because they go to my classes, or they're into this. And it's really cool, because 5 years from now, some of them might have their own show. They might be teaching if they aren't already.
Kind of like the scenario that you and I have had. You were my teacher for a while, then I stepped up, and it's like now. A matter of fact, I don't know if you can tell the walls. This is my home that you came to visit here in Sedona about a year ago, and I believe I've met 3 of your children.
Right.
The 2 youngest girls that were living with you when they came out here, we went out to Bell Rock. And then the last time, one daughter who was a little bit, I don't know.
Oh, right. That was
she was not, she was, I don't know.
That was one of the older ones.
She was shy. She was very independent and needed to stay in the car, wouldn't come in.
Right.
But my point is that we've known each other for a while. So Steve, we've got a number of different people here tonight.
We do.
And we will have more who will listen to this beyond this time. Okay. All right. Because once it's recorded, it goes into YouTube. And for people, it'll be on my channel, Pamela Marie Edmunds, under Love Never Dies radio show. Okay. I also have excerpts from the Animals Deserve Love show, All Animals Deserve Love. And I myself have become a channel. That's another thing that I do besides doing mediumship within the churches and mediumship on air. So it's we all have different gifts, is like you said. So
exactly.
What would you like to tell somebody? Okay. Here's your book.
Yes, my book.
Okay. For anybody who hasn't seen it, go looking for it, find it. It is a wealth of knowledge. For me as a teacher, I can look through this and get some ideas for what to do for a class some night. Okay. And that's part of what you did. You were sharing your ideas.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's really, I know it's for people of all different levels, but really, it's really designed for people who are really into it. So a lot of the books that, in a general sense, that come out, it's about the medium, how wonderful the medium is, and it's usually just very superficial type of level and everything. So I wrote that it's not about me, it's more about development.
Exactly. And I know because I know you well enough that Spirit helped give you some of the topics here and all of that, and that you do have another book that is almost complete, right?
Yeah, well, it's basically complete. It's just my graphics person has to finish doing the cover and all that.
Okay.
And so
you'll be
and that's Mediumship Mastery 2.
Okay. Because this one here is the ultimate guide. The other one's going to say Mastery 2 with a
well, Mediumship Mastery 2, Advanced Techniques That Work. I think that's the title.
Okay.
And hopefully, I mean, the next couple of months it will be out.
Right. So what can you tell these people who are here? You can look and see some of the names. You know some of the names of people who you invited. I feel like you've got a mixed level of people here.
Yeah, well, we could always open it up, to questions too if people have.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Well, how about a first question for me, and then we can let other people go.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
What would you encourage somebody who they're sensing spirit and they want to learn more about it?
Well, I mean, there's two different levels. There's intellectual, and then there's more like the experiential, like actually hands-on experience. So it's, we're just talking about my book. I think the more books someone reads about mediumship, the better, so they understand it. And there's so much stuff out there which is just complete. It's some of it can be complete rubbish too. You might read something 5 years later when you've got a lot of experience. You look back and go, my gosh, how did I believe in that stuff? Oprah endorsed it. I really believed it. But really, it's not necessarily, as you open up to the spirit world, you're gonna grow. But the more you learn and the more you put into your head, you're really going to have more of a framework. Because people come into this, even though they're really maybe very open often, there's just a lot of misconceptions about it. Things that they've watched too many scary movies, or maybe they come from some denomination of Christianity and they're told that you're talking to evil spirits or something like this. So it's a really good thing to understand how it works, scientifically, what the mechanics are. And then the big thing is also learning about it. And I mean, there's some things you can do on your own, obviously, like you can learn to meditate, maybe some exercise you can do. But the big thing, I think, is get into some type of development group that's run by someone who's experienced, who's competent, and where the emphasis is really on the spiritual growth and everything. And if you do that, it's step by step, it's gradual. It's usually not something which is it's not overnight. It's not like you're going to get your PhD on a Saturday.
No.
How many of you would like to get your PhD on a Saturday and you call yourself doctor? You have it on your business card. Or, you can get your master's degree in a week, or you mail away for your high school diploma. you know, in
Well,
16 steps.
in mediumship is something that's been around for years and years.
Yes.
And it's taken people years and years to fully develop it
You
too.
never stop developing. I mean, I'm still developing. I mean, I suppose I'm very experienced. I'm really tuned in and all this stuff. But you know, it's something that you never stop growing with it. You can always improve upon it. And it's not just you're learning how to improve upon it, it's the team of spirits that work with you. They're learning. And as you progress, maybe they work with you differently. New ones will come in. And it's all about teamwork. We're just the vehicles for the spirit world to work through. So I said before, they set the agenda. And oftentimes, I mean, let's say if we're talking about bringing people through evidential type of mediumship, I mean, oftentimes it's more for the people in spirit than it is for the people here. It's not just about what we want to, oh, I want to receive this. And so with mediumship, it's really important to work on yourself and, you know, not to get a big head or think that you're special and have all these amazing powers. And people get into that. I know that sometimes, I mean, you know, someone can go to some development class, some circle, maybe it's at someone's house or it's at a spiritualist church, and everybody is competing against each other. I want to be better than you, Pam. Your clairvoyance is more vivid than mine, Pam. So, you know, I've got to outdo you, and then I get really jealous of you.
No.
But this is what happens. You know, I guess as a human level, you know, people compare themselves and they want to outdo, but it really should be about, you know, we want to serve God. We want to open up our hearts more and overcome all of our faults. But, you know, the gifts, the idea of these spiritual gifts, is to help other people and bring them closer to God. And, you know, it's about healing and love. It's not about.
Oh, absolutely. And the title of this show is Love Never Dies.
It never does.
That's,
our real nature is love.
That's the basis of mediumship, isn't it?
We're eternal, and we're full of knowledge, and we're full of bliss and love. Yep. So it's our nature is to be loving and everything. And, you know, the relationships that we have with people, once you kick the bucket, you're still going to have those relationships. And if they're dysfunctional ones, you're still going to have to work on those things, even if you've avoided working on it for 50 years. Yep. You know, those things have to be worked on. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to make progress. I recently, this person I knew very, 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 very well, I'm not sure if they committed suicide or they had an overdose, but they left their body, they went to the spirit world. And so anyway, you know, I found out about this, I don't know, this was just recent, maybe the last 2 weeks or so. So I found about this from someone mutually who knew this person. And the other day I was talking to this one medium I know who knew this person, and I tuned into the spirit world. And this person who took their own life, I'm not sure if they took their own life or it was an accident or what, but they're very, 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 very depressed, you know, chronic addiction, you know, substance abuse, alcohol, and all these types of things. And, you know, I managed, actually, the person came right in from spirit, and I was aware they were around these higher spirits who were working with them. And I mean, they used the analogy, you know, just like if you could go outside your door, close the door, you know, and you don't have your keys with you and you lock the door, no way of getting back in, is there? You know, who hasn't locked themselves out of their house or their car? So it's very unexpected, and they can't come back. But what was interesting about this is this person, they're aware of, they're definitely in touch with higher spirits, but they're having to go over all the stuff in their life, you know, like just all these areas where they didn't like themselves. I mean, they really were very, very, very negative about themselves, which was very apparent when, you know, because when you connect to the spirit world, you can feel the spirit and they'll present their character, their attributes, but their feeling of where they're really at. And you can really feel the entire psychology of the individual as it's presented. So this person, you know, is going to have to work on themselves. And even though there's all this love and support, it's not something which is easy. In fact, it's even harder now that they've gone to the spirit world. So sometimes people will avoid working on themselves. You know, they need the 50 years of psychotherapy, and they don't get it here in this physical world. And what happens? You know, you go to the spirit world, and all of that stuff, maybe someone is just pushed aside, or they've gotten into some substance abuse that they haven't addressed. All of that stuff has to be worked on. It's like the emperor has no clothes. You know, you're naked before God. All the secrets are revealed in the spirit world. your energy field. So the spirits who work with us and are around us, they can see us where we're exactly where we're at. There's no pretense. You can't deceive the spirit world. So it's really important to be authentic within ourselves. And sometimes what's really valuable, if you go to a medium, obviously, sometimes it's nice to hear from people who we know who've passed over, but what's really nice is the higher guidance and direction that you can receive from the spirit world, because that information and that direction can really help you in healing things from the past, and resolving these things, sometimes within your relationships with your family, which really can mess people up significantly in a lot of cases, and get people just into dysfunctional thinking, dysfunctional behavior. Maybe they get, all these just poor relationship choices, substance abuse. But when we think about it, what comes in from even past incarnations messes people up too. So the higher spirits, they can see a person on a soul level, why a person's where they're at and what has contributed to that. And in doing so, it can actually help someone in the present work on things and change things around for the better, because the doorway to reformation's never slammed shut. It's never closed on anybody. No matter how hard you fall, how much you mess up, God loves us so much that God will always give us another opportunity for growth. Isn't that right, Pamela?
You bet. You bet. And as you were talking, I was thinking how important too it is for us to connect with the loved ones, because often there's some issues we need to release and resolve with them.
Exactly. And what they need to work on too. It's really very, very, very deep, this type of work. It's not just the superficial surface level, which sometimes people present it that way, or they don't really go past the surface level of what it's supposed to be, unfortunately. But maybe there's some questions that people have here.
Yeah, well, first I'm seeing a couple different questions here in the media chat. I see somebody asking if your book is on Kindle.
Oh boy, that's from Judy. I can read it too in the chat. Well, my book, unfortunately, the first book isn't on Kindle because the way my graphics person did the whole graphics, it didn't translate to the template for the Kindle, on a technical type of level. So the only way to read my book is the print, the hard copy. Although actually with my new book, hopefully that will be on Kindle. Kind of wish my other book was on Kindle, but at this point it's not.
Well, maybe that's something you can get done later on. I don't know. Well, you'll be guided, right? Isn't that the way it happens?
Well, yeah, it's just a matter of if someone did it. But anyway, you can always get a hard copy, just give it away if you don't want to hold on to a lot of books cluttering up your house.
Yeah. Do people want to ask questions of Steve? If you want to speak out loud, put your hand up and then unmute your mic.
Yeah, and don't be shy.
Can I ask a question?
I think that's
question. That's me, Laura. I need a flashlight.
Oops. You're breaking up, dear.
Can you hear me? Okay, can you hear me now?
A little bit. What's
Hello?
the question?
Huh? Okay, the question is a mediumship. Okay, for example, okay, I'm trying to speak. The thing is, like, I see, okay, like, seeing things and like, for example, like, with Miss Pamela, like today, it's like I see them so clear, and it's like I see me and you, and like I can hear, and I can tell like what is good and what is bad, but also it's like if I get an article like something, and it have to other different languages, like I don't understand what it's supposed to mean with me.
Oh,
is that something with mediumship or what? Do you remember when I sent you some pictures in the beginning? Miss Pastor Hermann or Stephen? Do you remember I sent you some pictures in the beginning?
Oh, okay. Well, with with mediumship, it's pretty normal. I mean, if you're really opened up certain ways, with objective clairvoyance and objective clairaudience, you can hear them and you can see them, and it's just like seeing, hearing, hear, and everything. Now, I didn't hear the last part of your question because it was garbled.
I started when I was little.
Yes.
And I kind of blocked it, and then it continued when I was 18, then again, and I blocked it, and again. Well, okay. So usually they say something when something tragic happens. It's like when it starts becoming more fast for somebody. Well, my mom passed away, and that's when it becoming very, very quick for me. And I had taken pictures, and it was so like they wouldn't come out at that picture. I started out through pictures, seeing things through pictures, and then like that day when I took it, when I felt something, it wasn't there. But then a couple of days later, it show up, and it's like like I see things like in different, like I can see like my mom, like she passed away. She warned me about my aunt, like somebody was gonna die, and it's like I knew that she was gonna die, that she wasn't gonna make it. She, I saw how she's gonna get better and then go deteriorate. And like, I can see things that's gonna happen, especially when people that are sick, like they're not gonna die, but if it says RIP, but that's a warning for them, and I give them the warning, like, hey, you need to go get yourself checked. I see it. But when I see the funeral, it's like, then I know they're not gonna make it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is okay, mediumship is something which is really, 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 really wonderful, and receiving communications is really wonderful too. But a lot of why all this stuff is happening, it's to get you, because you're really open to it, and it's to get you into it even more. So the best thing to do is like what I was saying before, read a lot of books about it so you understand it better. But then if you go to classes run by people who are competent and qualified, you're going to learn how to really discipline it real well too, like to be able to turn it on, turn it off. Plus, it's going to enable your helpers to work with you. And so everything you're experiencing is kind of normal when many people, when they first get into it. But what you'll find happen if you start taking classes regularly and consistently, you won't have those types of experiences anymore because it's not really going to be necessary. Plus, your vibration will go to a different level, so to speak. Sometimes people also have a lot of experiences that are really scary too, and it's their interpretation of it. But the denser types of energies psychically are a lot easier to kind of connect with than the more refined ones.
You see, one thing is I'm not scared. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not scared. It's like what they call it, everybody says I'm old, so I accept it. I feel like since I've been little, like I've been like, every time I remember when I would see some like a dead animal or somebody dead, I would always say them with you, like, and it's like I felt like I've been doing this, since I've been little, and it's like I feel very connected with Mother Mary, and it's like I feel her a lot, and it's like I see like my family. It's like I see things in different dimensions. I don't know how to say it.
No, this is all really good. Whereabouts do you live?
I live in Florida.
You're in Florida. Okay.
I have my body will vibrate sometimes, and like when you stand next to the washer and it's spinning, my body feels like I can feel like the train or something, and it's so weird how I can see what the person, like the whole trauma.
Yeah, no, this is all really, this is all pretty normal. But what I would do is just go to, if you can get into some type of class and go to a circle every week, that will really, 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 really help you, because you'll have better control over it, and it'll even get stronger than what it already is. Like, it's really strong right now, but it can be even stronger and even more focused. So it's a good thing. That's what I would say you should do. But you just want to find, in the location where you're. That's why I asked where you were. Like, I know, are you around the Miami area?
Yeah, I live in Lakeland, Florida. It's close to Orlando.
Oh, you're near Orlando. Okay, well, there's a couple spiritualist churches in Orlando. There's a few spiritist groups too, and there's Casadega, which is just up the road. I mean, I'm going to be there in March. I'll be teaching, but quite a few of the mediums there run weekly classes. I mean, you could go to like every night of the week a class if you wanted to, if you were able to, you know, but definitely do it. And you know, because, and keep in touch with me too, and let me know what happens, you know, with
I do
finding
message you sometimes.
Laura, thank you.
I did, okay, thank you, hon.
Sweetheart, we want to let some other people ask, okay? Thank you for coming here and being here.
Yes.
And you know what else
Thank you.
I've learned that has been so helpful on my journey is to be around people who are like-minded. That is huge. It
Yes.
supports me in my
It's very hard,
odd
though.
thinking, my odd experiences, and it's just so important. So important, because the people who are the earth people, I'll call them, don't understand me.
like all the people who are here right now
Mhm.
on our meeting.
Yes, all like-minded, aren't they? So thank you, Laura. Could you mute your mic, please, hon? And who else would like to speak? Maybe a hand up? And then turn your mic on? Okay, yes, Judy, unmute your mic, sweetheart. Got it.
Okay. Well, I always want to bring up my boo first. My guy, who's almost always with me, but you were talking about your friend who passed, who had addictions, and you weren't certain that he was. You didn't know that he had died. Someone told you that he had passed away, and
Yes.
There's someone in my family who was basically the same, but he was also sick, physically ill, and he died, and it was assumed, and is still assumed, that it was by his own hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I was speaking with, are you familiar with Rosemary Altea?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. She knew nothing about his death or his illness, and but she was saying that because I had asked if she was sensing anything about him, and so she said he's fine. He made it fine. He's fine. And she said there was some question about whether this was intentional or an accident. And she said it was an accident. It was unintentional. And I don't think anyone had thought that or brought that up other than myself, because I just had a feeling that it wasn't intentional. And when we were talking just a minute ago, I could feel him holding my hand.
Oh, that's
so
really good.
I knew it was important for me. When you were discussing your friend, I felt him holding my hand. So it was as if that was an affirmation to me that this was accidental. Even though it seemed that it was his choice, but
yeah.
And well, I guess actually overall it was his choice, even if it was accidental. But
yeah,
yeah,
that happens a lot. I've seen a lot of cases like that, you know, where it's kind of ambiguous, like what actually happened,
right,
just due to the nature of it.
Right. Well, I would never, with my family, say no, this was accidental, because everyone feels that it was intentional. So that's how I'll leave it with the family.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Thanks, Judy.
Oh, you're welcome.
Anybody else have a question for Stephen? He's talking to us from New Zealand now. Come on.
I know.
Where are you?
So
where are you, everybody? I'm guessing most everybody here is in the States.
Georgia here.
You're in Georgia. Okay.
Right.
I'm in Sedona, Arizona. Who else would like to speak to Stephen? I'm from Maine, Lori says. Trying to get my mom into bed. Okay, Lori, I know.
I'd say put your mom on, but she might not want to come on.
No.
She needs to go to bed.
Colleen, would you like to ask a question or to share something with Stephen? I like the background behind you, dear. Very gorgeous.
I do too. I like that.
Thanks. I'm from New York, and I've taken a few courses with Stephen and a few workshops of his that were very interesting. I do have a question. As far as my my spiritual senses or my clairs, my clairvoyance and my third eye are probably the least developed of my skills. I connect through clairsentience and claircognizance most strongly, and occasionally I will get like something that will appear like in my mind, like a photograph or a symbol. And I was just wondering if you could give me any advice. I do have your book, but a lot of those exercises are geared for groups.
Yeah, they're more designed for groups, exactly.
Right, which would be great for teaching, but if you're working on your own, you know, it doesn't apply. What I can do to try to help with the third eye and the clair.
Okay, well, one of the exercises in the book, which you can do on your own, is you can focus at your third eye, then focus down on your heart, then focus back up at your third eye. And, you know, do that repeatedly, you know, when you're in a really deep sitting in the power and sitting very, 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 very deep. The other thing is for developing clairvoyance is, which can really help you, is to be even more aware of all the visuals that are around you. So it's just like if you look at, I don't know, gosh, you know, look at the wall behind you, or what's on the wall. You know, you see it kind of in a broad sense, an overall sense. But actually, if you really look closely, there's all these little lines, there's all these little bumps with texture, all these little details. So if you start really paying more attention to that, you know, along with the colors and the line work, what's going to happen is this is going to, you know, working on your physical vision, it's going to stimulate that, but simultaneously, it's very much going to affect with what they're going to be able to give you with your clairvoyance as well. You know, if you pay attention or emphasize the physical senses, well, what ends up happening is it ends up playing off in terms of developing, you know, the counterpart when you're receiving from spirit. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
You know, it's like if I gave you, let's say, an oil painting. You went to the museum, you looked at this old oil painting. You could look at it, but when you go up really close, you can see all the brushwork, and you can pay attention to all the detail. Or you look at a leaf, you know, take a leaf off the tree. It's autumn where you are, and my gosh, there's all these, I guess, veins or things within the leaf. I mean, there's all this, you know, it's not just, so you have to start looking more at those details. The other thing you could start doing is you could get some art equipment, you know, get some pastels or get some paint or something, and just start doing stuff visually with art and start thinking. That'll keep you in an intuitive frame of mind, but it will also really open you up. You know, it's easier to present abstract things, you know, like, so if they gave you a color, they telepathically transmitted that, it's going to be easier for you to receive and then to send. But they can also start giving you, you know, shapes along with that, of course. And there's a feeling that goes with it. But one of the things I would also say too, I probably already have said this if you've asked this in my classes, which I forget, and your abilities, you know, they're different than from someone else's. It's not really superior. It's just we're different. You know, maybe someone else is very visually oriented. So it's totally fine where you're at. You can get really fantastic information with the propensities that you have. But even though you might feel weaker with the clairvoyance, that can still be worked on. You know, it's just like developing your left hand. Maybe you're never going to be as strong as your right hand. But then if you do stuff with your left and strengthen it, well, if something happens to your right, it's going to be there to back you up. And, you know, it's going to be a lot stronger than it would as well. So hopefully, does that make sense? Does that help you?
Complete sense, yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Because if you follow that stuff, it'll definitely work, you know, what I'm describing and everything. The other thing is I know, you know, a lot of those exercises in my book, they're for two people or groups, you know, that kind of thing. with mediumship, what I just described, anyone can do that on their own. It's going to help things considerably, but it's really important to be with other people practicing it and working with it. So for example, there might be specific exercises a teacher who teaches mediumship may have a class do to enhance, totally focused on just developing clairvoyance. You do stuff like that. You've got the group energy, you've got people to interact with, you've got their feedback, their response. It's just really invaluable. I mean, you kind of need to do both. You need to be obviously doing the stuff on your own, which is really good, but then you also need to be working as much as you can with groups, which I assume that's what you're doing. So, you just want to continue that.
What happened was in the summer, a lot of the groups kind of disbanded. I was kind of laughing to myself when you were talking before. I was involved in a circle where I would go to a medium's house that I knew quite well, like prior to her development of her gifts, or me even acknowledging that I had any. But it became like a competition, or an ego trip for some of the people there. And I couldn't tolerate that,
Yeah, that's not good. You don't want to be around that. It's not what it's about.
Not at all. But now I've found a couple of circles, and I'm trying to see, which one is the best fit, or if I can do them all, I'll do them all.
Yeah, it's good to be addicted to this stuff because unlike substances, there's no harmful side effects. I always say that.
Too many spirits.
Too many spirits in a good way.
It's been a blessing through the whole virus thing, because it's kept me very occupied, and it's kept me away from the news.
Yeah, stay away from the news.
Classes. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing. Thanks, Steve. And if somebody else like to speak, because we've got a few other people here who I'm sure have a comment or want to say hi to Steve. You all came forward because you've worked with Steve before, or you honor his work, you honor his commitment, should we say.
And Lori just said, I think Stephen has finally convinced me to take his class. I'm going to give it a shot. I wasn't even trying to convince you, but I will say I have a class.
Please share.
Which is on Tuesday nights. I've actually had that ongoing online since like the end of March, and then opens up every month. And that's going to be opening up again. Gosh, I guess maybe, what is it? November 10th. I think it's the next, it'll be opening up. So that's going to be starting up. I'm also going to be having on Wednesday nights, Past Life Mediumship course, which is going to be on Wednesday nights, November to I think December 1st, 2nd, or whatever it would be. So if anyone's interested in that, I do have stuff regularly going on. If I don't have your email, give me your email and your location. I'll put you on my list, and that way you'll get spam from me on a regular basis.
And the best way.
You invited me plenty of times.
Okay, sorry. Hi, Laura. Yeah, what's the best place for them to connect with your information? Your website, what's that again, Steve?
Yeah, stevehermanmedium.com. And I'm on Facebook too, but yeah, if you want to be on my email list, give me your email information and where you are, because I have different email lists, for different regions, that kind of thing. And I've got a YouTube channel too, which is Steve Hermann Medium, and that has a lot of education. I try to come up with at least once a week, some type of educational video for mediumship to help people and things related to it. So please subscribe.
And when are you going to be teaching any classes back here in the States? I realized we still got the pandemic to deal with.
Well, I had all this stuff, scheduled. I mean, not just in the States, but other places too, internationally. And because of the virus situation, everything was canceled, or a lot of stuff was switched to online, or other arrangements. So I know I have things booked for next year at different places in the States. So hopefully there'll be some things actually going on. I mean, if not, it's just online. I'm assuming things will open up. Like in New Zealand, I'll be doing things here, of course. Right. I've been doing stuff here in person, which is really nice, because I can actually don't have to worry about, the social distancing.
Somebody else want to share or ask?
I heard a voice.
I did too.
So,
It's like, I think it's spirit voice.
no, I've been hearing a spirit voice ever since we started. It's like I hear some type of energy. I don't know what kind of, like a female energy. I'm like, every time you talk, it's like I can hear it, like, talking with you and him too. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of neat. I didn't pick up as a bad energy. And it's like, wow, I just kept hearing it talk, right? But Stephen, you're gonna do a class in Florida?
I will be, I'm in Florida. I'm scheduled, I'm at Casadega, and I'll be doing programs there in March. So the second and third week in March, around that time, I'll be there. About 2 weeks or just over 2 weeks, I'll be there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm there annually.
Okay.
I've been there every year, over 30 years. I go down there, so.
Bridget and Dave.
Oh, that'd be interesting,
I was just trying to see if anybody else who hasn't spoken yet would like to share something. Bridget, Dave, Lori, I think did Lori type something out? She's about getting his book. Okay. Questions, anybody, please? I'm gonna go a little bit over the hour. Lori, there's Lori.
Hey, all the older kids are finally in bed. It's like the lunatics are running the asylum.
Well, that's what happens.
You're caregiver, right, Lori, of your mom, and then you've got several other aspects of the family there too.
My mom and my dad and my grandkids used to come all the time, but not anymore.
Okay. Okay.
So I've nicknamed this house the Stonehurst Asylum. So
you need your time here with some like-minded people, huh?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. But my question was, I see Walter a lot more in my mind, and I hear what he says. So am I getting better at it, or am I just getting better at paying attention?
Probably both, because paying attention is part of it. Our analytical mind ends up blocking it. So if we do work to kind of get that out of the way, we're going to hear them a lot. It's not like they're not strongly there and able to come through. At the same time, if they're trying to communicate with you, remember, they're also potentially learning how to do it and just strengthening that connection with you. So it works a little bit of both ways too with all of this. It's not just what you're doing, it's what they're doing too, which obviously the results are the fact that it's just that much more intense the way it works. So you just want to keep on doing whatever you're doing and keep your mind very receptive.
I try very hard.
Yeah, it's really good. Try. Because not everyone is able to do that. A lot of people, I'm sure some people here, their minds are in the way. They don't know what's that, but when it comes in that strong where you can really, you can feel the spirit and you know who it is, that's great.
Yeah, he doesn't leave anything to the imagination. I know exactly who it is when he comes in.
Which is very cool. I love it.
That's your son, dear, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
It's very cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Is Bridget, hands up. Bridget's got her hand up. Hang on.
Yeah, I'll ask a question. What would you say would be the most important exercise someone could do as they're developing their mediumship? Sitting in the power or something else?
I think, my own experience would be, and this is before sitting in the power was even termed sitting in the power. I used to go, to circles, and sometimes when you go to these development circles, sometimes the orientation is just to get a message, and then you can give it out and stuff like that. But I used to like to just go to these circles, and I remember this, one of my teachers, and she was a trance medium, so she would have us sit in the power. But I know she didn't call it sit in the power. So that's something that's, I think it's guy Glenn Edwards, who was this one British medium coined, who was a student of Gordon Higginson. That's another whole story. But anyway, she would just have us sit. And this is, if you go back within spiritualism, the older home circles and groups, they used to sit like an hour. And they just let the energy build up. And what's happening when you're sitting, you've got the group energy, and then they work with your chemistry and you attune to the spirit world. So that's sitting in power with a group, obviously, is better than just on your own, because you've got the group energy and the group chemistry that's developed. But any type of sitting like that is probably the best thing to do. Now, you're also going into an altered state, and your mind is receptive as you're getting the analytical out of the way, and you're going very, very, very deep dissociation from the physical body. And so I would say, I guess if you want to use the term sitting in the power, I would say that's probably the most important thing you can do, just to connect with spirit. I also think that if you do some type of focused, or I do a lot of like mantra meditation. So if you do something like that every day, that's disciplined and focused, that's also going to help you just connect to God and help you to raise your own vibration, kind of clear all the dirt in your heart out of the way.
Well, you should do a video on the mantra meditation. That would be interesting.
Yeah, maybe I will. I've got to do a video later today because it's a beautiful day out today here in New Zealand. So.
What time is it where you are now, Steve?
What time is it right now? I think it's 2 o'clock right now.
2 o'clock in the afternoon, right?
2 o'clock in the afternoon, day ahead
Okay.
though. So it's Thursday here right now.
Oh, okay, that's right. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you, Bridget. Dave, did you want to ask him anything or share anything? No? Okay. All right. Somebody else had the hand up.
Judy did.
Judy.
I heard you mention something about past lives.
Yes.
And that's an area, as I have grown older and as people have come into my life, I have strong past life memories with certain people. My sister probably being my strongest. And it seems like every lifetime we have together, she's a very dominant person. And I'm more subservient to her. And I know growing up, I always thought of her as a second mother. And there's only 18 months difference between us. And past lifetimes with others, because I was murdered in my past lifetime. And I was associated with 2 men. And one of the men was my husband, and I met both of those men at the same time in this lifetime when I was much younger.
Wow, that's difficult.
Well, it was then, not now. I've kind of worked through all of that now in my mind, but to remember,
you're eternal, so you're eternal. So that kind of information can come through during the session. Yeah. So the class I'm going to be teaching, I mean, I've taught other past life workshops or classes. It's going to be a whole series, but it's just going to be totally focused on that aspect of mediumship, which is going to be really, really, really good. So if you're interested.
You also past lives for other people.
Oh yeah, it will be learning how to receive that kind of information from the higher guides to help the person who's the recipient for their. I mean, some of it might be a bit. We will be doing some work with, past life recollection of our own past life. But mainly it's connecting mediumistically to how to get that kind of information that helps people and that's relevant to them. And that's accurate. Because anyone can tell you anything. They could say, hey, in your last life, you were Richard Nixon or God knows what. And it's like, really? And people will just...
Accuracy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thank you, Judy.
Can I ask you a question about your mediumship?
Laura? Is that Laura again?
I want to ask you, yes, I'm a shadow box, but I'm curious about a question about Stephen.
Yes.
When you started your mediumship, okay, like when you saw, like for example, like if you're in a group and you saw something and you don't want to be rude and you don't interrupt the group because you saw something like a spirit on a female. And how would you do it to just keep it to yourself till, you know what I mean? Like, what if you want to tell somebody something that you can at that moment? How do you?
Well, okay. First of all, okay. So with mediumship, I'm really disciplined with how I work with my mediumship. I turn it on and turn it off. So if they need to give me guidance, I mean, I could get guidance 24 hours a day and I probably wouldn't even be aware I was getting it because they just put stuff in my head to guide me on a personal level. But in terms of with other people, like receiving messages, having stuff come through, nothing will come through unless I'm going to be working And I decided I'm going to be opening up to spirit, and I want them to come through, and then they'll come through. Other than that, they're not going to come through, because that's the whole thing. What's really important with the trained mediumship, you want to learn how to turn it on, turn it off. It's not like I'm just going to be hanging out with Pamela. Oh, Pamela, there's 3 people around you. Pamela, do you know the Virgin Mary? I'm seeing Jesus with you today. It's like, or I've got your mom here, and she's, it's not, that's like a leaky faucet. You want to be really, 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 really control of what you're doing, and because you want quality, you want reliability. So you have a team of spirits that work with you when you're a medium, and they vet who comes through, they determine who comes through, they figure out the content, and they assist in the process as intermediaries with it, and they really connected with you. So it's not like I'm going to be hanging out in Home Depot in the chainsaw section and accost people. I'm seeing someone for you. I mean, they have this on TV and everything, but it's really important just to kind of keep it. If you find yourself open up outside of a class situation, or when you really should be, working with people, you want to be able to just not set boundaries with the spirit world, and you're not going to work, because you want the highest, you want the best, and you want reliability. Some people are just open to anything, and anything can come through. I mean, people just, hey, I'm a blabbermouth. I'm going to come through and just yak because this person, it's like someone calling you at 3 a.m. Even if they're your best friend and they call you at 3 a.m, you're not going to necessarily want to hear from them. There's a time and a place, which is why in a professional sense, most people, they have professional hours that they keep. You have to make an appointment to see your attorney. You have to make an appointment to see your physician, your psychotherapist, if you have one. This kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Because I was just curious, I guess that's what I need to learn, is how to tune it out. Because
you need to go to a class. That's what you need to do. Go to classes. And I'll really help you with that and everything. I had this one student of mine not that long ago, and this was a student who was open to the spirit world all the time. I mean, like 24 hours. And I told this person, you need to close this down. This is the first thing you need to do, is close it down. I mean, this person came to, a couple classes, and they were doing some one-on-one work with me because I did mediumship mentoring. And I'm pretty sure they didn't want to hear what I had to say, because I was telling them, you need to close it down. They were just like open. Any decision they made, they would listen to what the voices told them. And, this is what the spirit world is there to do, So having the quality is really, really, really important and everything. And, if you can control it, it'll be a lot stronger, and it'll be really, 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 really fantastic, as opposed to just like all over the place. I don't know what the heck's going on. And it's out of control, which isn't good.
Right. So do you do a one-on-one classes?
Oh, well, I do like mediumship mentoring. It's like one-on-one. It's like coaching or training with people one-on-one, which, and that's for all different levels of development. It could be someone who's novice or even someone who's professional working with it.
And Steve, people can find you again where? How can they track you?
Well, my it's stevehermanmedium.com is my website, stevehermanmedium.com. And I'm also on YouTube. I have my Steve Hermann Medium, and I have educational videos on mediumship development. And of course, I have my book, Mediumship Mastery.
Right.
Which I got this right here. Plug my book. And I'll be having another volume out pretty soon. I'll be having other books after that too, because I like to teach people. I'm into the teaching aspect of it. And I'm on Facebook, and I'm really into helping people with their mediumship and, the teaching aspect of it. So feel free to get hold of me at any time. Anyone watching this, maybe isn't here physically present.
Right.
I'm pretty accessible for people.
Right.
I don't know everything, but, I am experienced. I do this full time all over the world. I worked with a lot of people, but I'm still learning myself, but I'm certainly into helping you with your growth.
And that's important, Steve, that a medium continues to learn, as you mentioned briefly earlier. And that's huge. It's huge because it shows that we are really passionate about the work.
You want to be passionate, like you're passionate, Pamela. You're like totally into it, and you're open-minded about it too.
Yes, thank you.
will excommunicate you from a spiritualist church.
And please let me know when this is out.
Yeah, I will.
I'd like to do another show with you about your new book and maybe something else, because it seems like there's a lot of people who I need to say adore you, enjoy you, they look up to you, and they want to hear more from you. That's what this is about. You're the teacher, right? You're the teacher. So I want to thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And I want to let everybody else know, if like you're listening to us tonight and you a couple weeks later says, gee, I wonder what Pamela's doing on her show tonight. Go to my website, Pamela Marie Edmunds. You will find both shows on there. Love Never Dies and All Animals Deserve Love. Plus, I've got some classes I'm doing. Matter of fact, I'm doing a new class, and I'm going to share it here. It's the first time I've shared it outside of my home. I'm going to be doing a class Monday nights, and it's going to be a discussion group, and it's called Let's Talk Spirituality. Think of how much we can talk about. There is, first off, what is being spiritual? And what sort of things start happening for you? What do you need? What do we learn? And what are we drawn to? It's a whole new life. It's a whole new life. So that's going to be posted. All this will be posted on my website. You'll see the posting for that. Then next week's shows. I also said I do trance the 30th, just day before Halloween. I will be doing a group session on Zoom. And Stephen wasn't joking when he mentioned Mother Mary. Mother Mary's been one of the very first beings I ever channeled.
I remember when you were doing that back in onset, like in the early 90s, around that time, maybe 95. It might have
and I
been
was
94.
working at a number of the different centers around the area.
Yeah, I remember
come in there. Yep.
Because you were at onset and then you kind of went off. I didn't see you that
right.
much. But I remember when I first met you because you were there in the service, and I remember that.
Right, and then a lot of the ascended masters have chosen to come in, and a lot of the archangels. So it's I guess what I want to say, it's an opportunity to hear information from the higher sources, and also to see and feel an experience with trance, because it's not me. I step out of my body. I'm literally sitting over here, hovering over here next to me.
Oh, you know what I forgot to mention too, Pam?
Yeah.
On that night, I'm having a group mediumship session too, the 30th, the same Friday night. But that's more like me just giving personal messages.
That's great. Okay, but they can find all information about what you're doing on your website, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you'll be posting it on your Facebook page if they haven't got there. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming in. I've had messages from a couple people who had to drop out. Somebody had a migraine headache, and another person just needed to go. But wonderful group here, and this will be recorded. Matter of fact, as soon as I push the button to end our session here, it starts calculating. However, whatever they do here to get it formatted, I guess. And then I will transfer it over to YouTube. And for those of you who do have my Facebook page, which is Pamela Marie Edmunds. Okay, I will be posting the link there. Otherwise, go to Pamela Marie Edmunds on YouTube. And you'll find this recording, find others, and there'll be more to come. And you know what happens too about YouTube is for you to subscribe. Huh, Stephen? We like to get some people to subscribe to our pages, because what happens, you get notified when we put a new post up, right? Then you can come and listen and learn more from us. Okay, so be well. Be safe. And I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank all the wonderful beings who joined us this evening, because we know we didn't do this all by ourselves. We are so grateful. Big hugs to you, Steve, and
Yeah,
hugs
thank
to
you very
everybody
much.
else.
God bless all of you.
Yep. Be well, be safe, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you both.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you.